Hey, how are we doing tonight? We're kind of bringing up another idea here, and we've been looking over the laws and the bylaws on what it would be like to form a third party, an actual third party of independence. So when you log on here, if you could, let me know where you are from and see if this way we can get an idea on how far out our reach is getting here in Michigan or outside of Michigan, doesn't matter. So please put in the comments down there where you're from so that we know that and we can see if we can keep getting out farther and farther. But tonight we're going to talk about forming an actual political party. We've gotten all the applications to actually form an independent party here in Michigan. There is no actual parties in Michigan. We have groups that call themselves Michigan Independent Parties, but they have not filed bylaws or paperwork as a actual third party. We actually went and pulled up some of the paperwork with state party constitution and bylaws so that we can do our research and find out what we have to do to file for an actual independent party here in Michigan. We're going to look into it, and I think it would be a good idea. I've talked to quite a few millennials that are looking out there for an actual real party to join, and I don't mean the kind with the alcohol and everything else. So this is what we're going towards. We're actually looking at the paperwork to file for an independent party of Michigan. Again, you know, we're still looking for volunteers. If you want to volunteer in your area, we can set things up and I can meet with you up there or wherever you're at in Michigan. And we're still looking for, I think it's 12,700 or something like that in signatures. We have until, I believe it's January 15th, and then we'll start having to cast off some of our signatures unless we decide to start all over. But I think we're going to just keep moving the 180-day period back until we hit our goal for signatures. We are going to turn in enough signatures to be on the ballot. We are determined to do that. And it would help if we got some volunteers. We did pick up 10 volunteers about a week ago. So that was really good to hear that. And we will be, I'll be up in Saginaw tomorrow. I'm going to stop by Fuzzy's up there, and I'll be in Merrill and Hemlock as well. So it's going to be a busy day tomorrow, but we are going to be out there gathering signatures. And I'll be out there talking to the people of Merrill, Hemlock, and Saginaw, wherever we can catch an ear. So if you're interested in helping out tomorrow, I'm going to be at Tony's or Little Bambino at 10 a.m. in Merrill, Michigan, where I'm going to have breakfast and coffee. If you want to come up and have coffee with me, not a problem. I'll sit down with you. Again, we're talking about tonight about actually forming an independent party. I went and pulled up the paperwork for the state of Michigan, new political party, and I think we want to try to do this in order to put a little more competition, fair competition, into the two-party system. Again, we've pulled up all the paperwork so that way we know what the bylaws and everything that we have to follow in order to do this correctly. But how many of you out there listening would be interested in joining an actual independent party where they would be behind the independent candidates that are actually nominated by the party or by the people? We've pulled up the Constitution for it, which we do have the law on it, which is regulated by 168.692A of the Michigan election laws under Act 116 of 1954. So we are doing our research in order to make this happen. So Glad to see you're on here listening, Henry. Jason. Oh, Miss Carol's on here, and Zach, Steve. Glad to see you on here. Oh, there we go, Mike. How are you doing tonight, sir? So, what's your opinions on actually forming an independent party to give the people the choice instead of having to deal with just the Democratic Party or the Republican Party? I mean, it will just start here in Michigan, of course, but it may catch on. Uh, Minnesota actually has an independence, and I did say that right, independence party, which is basically the same as what we want to form here, which is an independent party. Now, we do have minor parties. We do have the Green Party, and we do have the Libertarian Party. But the term independent seems to be a stronger verbiage if you want to look at it that way, according to what I'm hearing from the millennials. They are actually wanting to be an independent. They don't want to deal with Democratic Party and Republican parties, which to me is a wonderful thing. It gives them an actual place to caucus if we choose to caucus, or we can actually have a convention. We will find once we file the paperwork, after everything's in place, we'll be circulating a registration form for people to actually join the party. And we will have biannual meetings or whatever is set up by the bylaws that we have to create for the party. The bylaws will be out there for the people who want to register to be part of an independent party, and for them to see, for them to follow and to see what we're talking about. I will actually have the paperwork for the bylaws. I've got a couple of attorneys that are willing to look them over to make sure that we write them up correctly so that we can put these out there and see what the feel is. In other words, we want to check and test the waters to see if Michigan really wants an independent party. We definitely need independent candidates out there. I support Marcia Schleiger for U.S. Senate. She's going up against Debbie Stabenow. There's a couple of local independents that are out there. I don't know. I think Ryan Lurie is also an independent, but I'm not 100% sure of that. The Green Party, they've got their own issues. They have a Kirkland, I believe is her last name, that she's actually running under the Green Party. Her party has nominated her. I haven't heard who the Libertarian candidate is as of yet. Ryan Cox Henry is another independent, as well as I am, and I'm really interested to see how the Republican Party is going to do this with Brian Calley, Bill Schuette, and Jim Hines. Jim Hines is out running around with his RV out there, and I waved at him. Of course, he probably didn't like seeing my car go by him, but hey, we're out here doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're out here campaigning and getting our name recognition out there and answering to the people. Now, I was in Flint earlier today and in Flushing. Flint, I stopped to speak with a young lady who's having issues with the school system there in Flint. Now, I understand our schools are not being run properly. They're not being funded properly. Let's put it that way. They're all complaining of money issues, and if you've heard me speak about my plans for the schools, the plans are to put the money into our teachers and actually into our classrooms and schools, not into the administrations. Our superintendents, they're all well paid, and more than likely will take some pay cuts when I get elected, because I believe the money should go to our teachers and to our classrooms, not to the administration. They've let our schools down, and so has our state government, for that matter. Now, the issue I was talking about with this young lady and her children over there in Flint today kind of got me pretty perturbed with Mayor Weaver in Flint. She went to quite a few of our state reps. She went to Phil Phelps and gave him permission to get her school records. And Flint Community Schools denied a state rep the records on her children. So that is an issue I have right there when the parent is given the permission for the records. The other part is she reached out to Dan Kildee, who at one time he was a good congressman. I mean, he's been involved with Flint, and I'll give him some accolades for that. But when she reached out to him, he promised her the world and let her down. Matter of fact, according to her, he sent somebody out there to her and started to give her, gather her information, and then has not since been in touch with her. She's reached out to the Attorney General's office, who flat out ignored her, which is Bill Schuette, of course. Like his commercials, Bill Schuette on duty. Yeah, right. He has a bad habit of just ignoring all the common people. And then she reached out to Mayor Weaver. This is where I have an issue. Mayor Weaver seems to think that her school communities fall under state only. Now, she runs that city. She does have authority in the Flint Community Schools. That is part of her purpose, is to make her community viable and take care of issues that happen in her community. Well, this young lady has had issues with the school systems, and Mayor Weaver doesn't want to handle that. Now, some people could say she has her hands full with the Flint water condition, or crisis, if you still want to call it that. It still is a crisis because they still haven't replaced not even half the lines yet. But that isn't what I'm here to talk about. The idea is that these local and state representatives are not doing their jobs. So I think we need to give the people of Michigan a third option. I think we need an independent party. That is why I'm running as an independent candidate, because I've lost faith in the Democrats and the Republicans. Now, I know one person on here, if he's still here, he's a very stringent Republican, and he doesn't care whether that candidate is doing a good job for the people of Michigan or not. He believes in the Republican Party, and that's all he votes for. That's fine. If you want to be that way, that's fine. I have no issues with it. I think it's kind of shallow-minded, but hey, I don't have to worry about everybody's feelings when it comes down to the situation, because I don't understand how we can be lifelong Democrats or lifelong Republicans without looking at the candidates of all the parties. Now, Republicans, they have good ideas. So do the Democrats, but they can't work together. Now, I've heard some outlandish ideas from the Green Party and the Libertarian parties, and maybe some people feel I have outlandish ideas. Now, the idea that I want to restructure the tax system here in Michigan, it's not really as outlandish as it sounds. My goal is to cut to cut $20 billion out of the entire tax structure of Michigan. I just feel they overtax us, especially on things, that shouldn't be part of what we're doing. I mean, we have taxes that overlap each other. On that situation, those are the taxes that we want to get rid of, one or the other. Not take away any of these taxes that fund vital groups or organizations, or I guess you can call them entitlement programs. I want things to work for society as a whole. And these social programs need to be there. They've proven that they are great for the communities. They help out the people who need the help. I'm not trying to cut that. When I say I want to cut $20 billion out of our tax system, that's from the total tax combined, not our budget. Now, we would go through all 23,000 taxes here in the state of Michigan in that book. You've got so many of them that overlap. I mean, you actually have an employment tax that our businesses are paying per employee. But yet that employee is paying a state income tax. There's no need to be double dipped. But again, I'm getting away from where I wanted to be on this. Now, give me your thoughts on if you would be interested in joining an independent party. I mean, that's what I'm looking for, because we are actually gathering the paperwork to form an actual independent party here in Michigan that would give support behind independent candidates. So that's what I'm actually looking forward to, and trying to get your ideas and see what your thoughts are on that party formation. I mean, it would give a lot more viability to the term independent candidate here in Michigan. It would give, I mean, you look at, you can say we got the Green Party and Libertarian Party. Excuse me. And they haven't done much. Well, the problem is they haven't had the opportunity to do much. The Republican Party, which to me is one of the more corrupt of the two. Of course, you can look at the DNC with their corruption in with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, who, whether you like her or not, to me, she's one of the most corrupt politicians in our history. But you might not like that I say that, but at least I'm not lying about it. You've got Brian Calley and Bill Schuette out there. And like I said, I was in Flint today and I heard it again. They do not like the idea of these two men running for office. But do you think they're going to bump out that Jim Hines is going to walk over those two? No. The only way, and the reason I said I liked it when Brian Calley got into the race is because that's direct competition for Bill Schuette. Now, the Republican Party is not going to, they don't have to gather signatures. They're going to get nominated. They'll have a Republican convention, and they will vote there at the convention to which one of those candidates will be the one that's going to represent them in the gubernatorial. Now, actually, I believe Bill Schuette will win out of that, because they both haven't done nothing for Michigan. And if you want to pipe in on that, Mike, you're welcome to. You can pipe in anytime you want on that thought on the Republican Party. Because I'll tell you this, Brian Calley likes talking about how he has done so much for Michigan on the tax restructuring, or excuse me, the tax cuts for here in Michigan. Well, Brian Calley was the tie-breaking vote for a $2 billion tax break to corporations. And it also brought in our retirement tax for the people who already live on a fixed income. So if you feel proud of that party, you just enjoy that, because now our auto insurance went up because of the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Account, and not one of these two parties want to take on the insurance industry at all because of the amount of money they are giving to the two-party system. So these are issues that I want to take on. These are the issues that I will change here in Michigan. I could care less. I'm not going to worry about it. What I care about is how our families are going to survive in the state of Michigan. So in order for us to take care of our families, we need to have a viable income, something that we can afford auto insurance, something that we can afford our health insurance. After all, they're mandatory, are they not? They tell us we have to have them, so they need to be affordable. So we'll change that. And I think together, if we put something together like that for the independent party that actually stands up for the people of Michigan, I think we, within 10 years, would be able to stand toe-to-toe with the Republican Party. The Democratic Party's fallen apart. I mean, I'm hoping the Republican Party falls apart as well, because they can't seem to get anything right for the people of Michigan anyways. I could care less what we have in Washington over there. I stopped looking at what he's doing. But I was glad to see some of the taxes that he was talking about cutting coming across, because those corporate income taxes there will help Michigan with them being cut if you manage the tax system properly. Now, you know, Schneider, he's raised our taxes exponentially. They've gone up Jennifer Granholm, she raised our taxes. John Engler raised our taxes. Rick Schneider raised our taxes. I mean, sooner or later, you ought to get mad and decide that you don't want your taxes raised anymore, because they're not one of the taxes they've raised has done anything but raise the so-called slush fund that they've had. I mean, they told us it was going to be $158 million to fix, not to fix, but to build a new Senate building over there in Lansing. That turned out to be $314 million. Then they said they needed more money. They needed $87 million to fix the dome on the Capitol. Well, that turned out to be almost double as well. I think it was $152 million for that. So, how you doing, Ward? Thank you for joining us. So these are issues that need to be thought about, you know, and I think forming an actual independent party is the way to go. Now, I personally can't form it because I'm an independent candidate. So, but like I said, we are doing the research and actually talking about filing an independent party, an actual LLC, in order to make it a real political party for people to join. I am being part of the creation of the bylaws, because I like the way the bylaws turned out for Minnesota. We are looking at that. We are going to be putting these out here. I got to see if I can actually put them out on Facebook. How you doing, Kevin? Thank you for joining us. You know, and these are what I'm asking you. Would you, as a citizen of Michigan, actually be willing to join an independent party here in Michigan? A real independent party, not nothing fake about it. I mean, we would actually have conventions. I don't believe it'll go towards the caucus system. It'll stay as a convention and caucus, but they would act as party members. You would actually have nomination where you would have to come in and vote for who you would like to be your candidate for that party. I mean, you could actually have your debates between candidates there at the nomination party, just like the DNC and the GOP do. But it would only be here. It'd be in Michigan. It would be in Minnesota. And I don't know about the other states. I don't know if I really want to go into all 50 states, research all that. But I think it would be a good idea to actually form a real independent party here. If we can get people interested in that, we like I said, if the turnout is good and it's something that is feasible, we will actually put out an actual registration form electronically over the internet that you can sign up and become and join the independent party. And that doesn't mean you have to vote for an independent candidate. Okay, I don't want people being dragged into the same thing that we have with the two-party system. You know, I don't want you to feel just because you're an independent party member that you have to vote for your independent candidate. I want you to vote for the candidate that you feel is the best for your family and your community, whether it be a Republican, an independent, or a Democrat, or as far as it goes, a Libertarian or a Green Party. That is the purpose of our election system, to elect who you feel would be the best candidate for your state, your community, whatever your election is about. Now, again, I'm not a polished politician. I'm a man. I'm a citizen that got angry, who decided that it was time that we bring some common sense to our elections and to our state. And I'm going to follow this through all the way to the end, no matter what the outcome is. So, but we are gaining. Again, we need just over, it's right near 12,000. You know, if I say 12,700 signatures, I think we only gained roughly 100 signatures over the last couple of days. So, but we are moving in that direction. We have until January 15th or 16th. There, now that I got my light, I can see it. We have until the January 17th, and that is our, then we'll have to start throwing away signatures from the beginning of the drive. It'll hurt if we have to throw that first month away that we started this third signature drive. That was almost 8,000 signatures for that first month that we started. But this is part of what we have to do. I mean, we're going to make history, and there's no doubt in my mind that we're not going to get our signatures. We will make history by putting the first independent governor, or excuse me, the first independent candidate on the ballot for a gubernatorial. There has never been an independent candidate on that ballot. So we get to make history that way, and then we'll make history when we win. We will make Michigan a better state. And it's just by utilizing common sense, something that they have not had in Lansing in a long time. But I don't want to ramble on here too long. I think I've been on here, about the normal time, 26 minutes. So if you are interested, I will be in Merrill tomorrow morning at Tony's restaurant on Main Street there in Merrill. I'll be there at 10 a.m. If you want to go around Merrill, Hemlock, and Saginaw with me gathering signatures, I'll take all the volunteers I can. And if none of you show up, I'm still going around gathering signatures, even if it's just by myself. But I am going around talking to people. We are doing what I promised. We are going door to door and letting them know that there is somebody out here for the people of Michigan. So, but the other thing is, we are also going around, like I said, asking questions about people who would be interested in joining an actual independent party here in Michigan. I want to make sure it's done legally and properly, so we are looking into it. We even pulled up the Republican Party's LLC, which I got a laugh out of that. But either way, it's legitimate, and we are in the process of investigating what the proper way of going about it is, and we will keep you informed on that as well. Now, if we do manage to form the Independent Party of Michigan, again, we'll be sending around an electronic register so that you can sign up if you choose to and actually become a member of an actual independent party. Again, you know, I just want what's best for the people of Michigan. And from what I'm hearing right now, it's very loud in the millennial generation right now that they are looking for independent candidates. So I'm glad I chose to be an independent candidate. I've never been a registered Democrat, and I've never been a registered Republican. I have voted for each of them in different elections. That's the way it should be. You shouldn't have to vote straight party line, because a lot of that times when you do something like that, you're missing out on some great candidates that may be able to do better for your communities than voting straight party line. I think it should still be an option. I just don't think it's the right way to elect our officials. I think you need to actually do your research, see what these people are all about, and then ask the question that you feel is most necessary in your lives. I personally ask, you know, what is this candidate going to do for my family and my community? Kevin, that is actually true. I did hear about 75 million kids between the age of 18 and 25 will be voting in 2020. Well, actually, you're right, 16 and 25, because up until then. But yeah, they are. There's 75 million kids going to be voting in 2020 for our next presidential election. So, I don't know how that's going to go over for an independent in the presidential election, but maybe Michigan can start a wave for independent parties to form all around the United States. So, how you doing, John? Thank you for joining us. So, and again, I think it's important that we actually do form a independent party here in Michigan. And like I said, I've got the paperwork here. We are actually looking into the viability of it. We want to make sure we file it correctly as the DNC did and the GOP. We need to, I think there's a lot of people in Michigan that would actually register as an independent if we put together a real independent party. I've tried, like a lot of people I'm sure have, Googling Michigan independent parties, but there is no actual party there. There's groups. Now, if we actually build the real party like the DNC and the GOP, then you have something there that would be what, like I said, we'd have to hold a convention to elect our candidates. We would have to have annual meetings or biannual meetings that are actually recorded. You would have to elect a president of the party. You would have to elect treasurers of the party. And this is all stuff that I think needs to be done. Hello, Carrie. So this is where I'm going with all this. I mean, this is another portion of what I'm doing as a candidate. I'm out there. I actually have a full-time job. I actually drive Lyft to help raise money for the campaign. And then, like I said, I'm out there campaigning. Plus, I'm actually looking into start what we have to do, not just myself. I'm not going to take all credit for this. I do have other people who are involved with looking at what it would really be to start an actual independent party here in Michigan. So, glad you joined us, Carrie. So, this is things that I think are important. I mean, we definitely need somebody that's going to fix our roads. That, to me, is one of the minor portions of all this. But we definitely need someone who's going to keep their word to the people, fix our schools, fix our road, get our taxes under control, get auto insurance knocked down. Because, again, my auto insurance, I thought it only went up $80. It went up $170. So, and it's just not me. I know it's not me because I'm looking at my Liberty Mutual insurance package that I got today, and it states right on there, the Michigan Catastrophic Claims account went up from $90 per vehicle to $170 per vehicle. So this is all stuff that the people in Michigan are going to be feeling. Now, in my opinion on that PIP should be optional if you want that coverage. I mean, this account is getting way out of control over here. I mean, the Michigan Catastrophic Claims account is well over $20 billion now. And so hang on here a sec. It seems like somebody wants to text me instead of write it on here. So let's take a look and see what it said. So I can do that, sir. So this is where I'm at. I'm an independent candidate. I have plans, and if anybody wants to go toe-to-toe with me on my plans versus their plans, I'll gladly stand toe-to-toe. If I make a mistake on there and you prove me wrong, I'll bow down to you. But until then, that isn't going to happen. I'm not bowing down to anybody unless they can prove to me that I'm wrong for Michigan. Because I'll tell you what, I bring a lot of common sense to it. Some people who know me from my past know me as I was a wild child, but let's get this independent party going. I just realized something. I put up there a independent party. It should be an independent party. I've never been the greatest with my grammar, so let's. All right, why? Let's see. Oh, sorry about that. I never thought of it that way, so I guess I'm gonna have to get rid of that bed in the background here because what's the number one talking story right now? Sexual harassment. Trust me, I'm too old and fat for people to want me to sexually harass anybody. I love my wife too much. But anyways, now you got me thinking a different way here. Oh man. But yeah, I think it would be very good for the state of Michigan. It helped Minnesota. And again, like I said, I have their bylaws for the Independence Party of Minnesota. They actually have an independent. Boy, I haven't even drank yet tonight, and I say yet because I think I need a drink tonight. They have had an independent governor. Jesse Ventura, the wrestler that we all grew up on seeing on WWE and WWF and all those NCA and NCW or whatever, NWC or whatever. Anyways, he done a lot of good for the state of Minnesota. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party didn't like him very well, but he did get across both party lines and get things done. They didn't like it because they couldn't sway him either way. I mean, he was a very good governor for the state of Minnesota on most counts. I'm sure he had a lot of failures with the two parties, but hey, he's still going to go down as a good governor for that state. And I keep pushing for an independent candidate, and no matter where we're at, because that gives the people an actual voice in there, because you're not getting a voice with a Democrat or a Republican. And if I'm wrong there, I'll listen to any one of you that want to tell me that I'm wrong on that. Because if you're a Democrat and you're a candidate, or a Republican and a candidate, that party has a lot to say on what you do. And you can tell me no all you want. I've seen it. I've seen these people go in as state reps and as congressmen and senators for our state. They go in with great ideas, but they never get them to come to fruition because the party won't let them if it doesn't answer to them. I mean, look right now, you've got the Republicans and the Democrats arguing with each other over the auto insurance. There's a bill in Lansing right now that went in before Thanksgiving. I had a state rep tell me personally that they're going to postpone it till after Thanksgiving. Then they're going to come in after Thanksgiving break, and they're going to say, well, let's postpone this till next year, which they're getting ready to do right now. And then after the first of the year, when they come back in, they're going to kill it. Because they have put too much money towards their party coffers. Do we want this in our state? Having major corporations controlling our government so that they don't care what happens to the people? This is the time for us to clean house. This election, November 6th of 2018, is an outstanding opportunity for the people of Michigan to clean house. I don't know how many of you heard me say this or heard it on the news, but all 110 seats for state house are up for election. All 38 state senators are up for election. Of course, you know the governor is up for election, the attorney general is up for election, lieutenant governor is up for election, plus 14 congressional seats are up for election. This is the perfect time to form an independent party. This is the perfect time for, if you feel strongly that you need change in your community, if you need change in your state, to stand up. Be that change. The only way we're going to get change in this state or anywhere in this country is to be the change. Stand up, have your voice heard, get behind that candidate. It takes a lot out of you. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it or not. I mean, I'm putting in 17, 18, and 19 hours a day. That's probably half the time people have said I look tired. I am, but I'm not giving up. This is how I feel. This is my home. This is my state. Yes, I'm an independent candidate. Yes, I'm talking to you about forming an independent party. But if you want change, you have to be the change. I heard that phrase a little over a month ago, and it has resonated in my head, and it has not gone away and won't go away because I agree with it. And I know some of the people that are listening to me and talk to me on Facebook that say they're with me. They share and post everything I put out there. I love it. They're not even from Michigan, which is fine because I have support outside the state as well. It is time for us to make the change. It is time for us to clean house here in Michigan. You know, some people believe Rick Schneider's done a great job for the state of Michigan. I'd like that one person or a couple people that feel he's done a great job in Michigan. You show me what he's done that's been great for Michigan. Because with all the taxes he's raised, you ought to be angry. I am. You know, there's too much of this BS that these two-party systems are all we have. If you really believe that the two-party system is great, then you're already bought and paid for like they are. And I don't mean that to be rude or disrespectful. It's the truth. You want real freedom, you need to stand up and fight for real freedom. They've let our veterans down, and this is the two-party system I'm talking about, not just the politicians. They've let our veterans down. They've left the homeless down. Hell, 50% of the homeless people here in Michigan are veterans. You know, this stuff has to stop. I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of wound up and angry here because this affects all of us. And I know I'm supposed to be pushing for forming an independent party, and we are going to do that. I've got paperwork here. I just want to get it in front of lawyers first to make sure that we do it properly. But as an independent candidate, I can't be part of the leadership of that party. So, but I will work with the formation of it. Because I feel this is something we really need in Michigan. I think this is something we really need nationwide, but I can't go by what the nation needs. I'm running for governor for the state of Michigan, and I'm running to make things better for the people of Michigan. I'm not going to be the lapdog to the Republican Party or the lapdog to the Democratic Party. They've let us down for too long. It's time for us to stand up and tell them what we need, what we want, and make it happen with or without them. That's why I have always been an independent candidate. Or excuse me, an independent. Now, for the first time in my life, I've decided to step up and run for office in order to make things right for the people of Michigan. Because I'm tired of seeing this all go to hell. And it's continuing down that same slippery slope. These people are driving us deeper and deeper into the ground, and they don't care. All they want is money. So this is where I'm at. This is why I'm out here campaigning. This is why I'm out here doing these Facebook Lives. You guys are probably getting sick of seeing my ugly mug on here. But we need an independent party. A real independent party, not this fictitious names that I find on here that I see these groups on Google, and I go back and look up their where their party, or not their party affiliation, but their LLCs and corporations so I can see if they're a real independent party. They're not, they're groups. But we can make a real independent party. We have found out how. It's just a matter of filling out the proper paperwork and getting people who want to be real independents and join the party. You know, have these annual meetings, have these conventions, annual conventions, biannual meetings, excuse me, and conventions. Elect your candidates. I think that's the way to go with Michigan. The millennials, like the gentleman up here, Kevin, put on here, you know, in 2020, 75 million of our 16 to 20-year-olds will be voting. Hello, Lacey. Hello, Laura. So this is where I'm at. I've been on here 45 minutes, and I'm probably going to get off here. I don't want to annoy anybody, but I want you to think about what I've talked about. I want you to think about the independent party formation, a real independent party formation. Is that something you can get behind? Is that something you can follow with? And I mean, I'm not asking you to vote independent. If you're, you know, if you want to vote Democrat, even though you're a member of the independent party, fine. The question is with our candidates is, what are they going to do for you and your family and your community? That's what you should be asking. You know, right now you got Bill Schuette and Brian Calley both talking about part-time legislature. Those two are idiots. And I don't care if somebody gets mad at me for calling them idiots, because we already have a part-time legislature. Yeah, they're overpaid for their 100 days of work. I understand that, and I agree with you. That's why I want them to work full-time like the rest of us have to make a living. You know, we work 40 hours a week or more to bring home our measly salaries. Some of us have great salaries. Some of us have poor salaries, you know, below the poverty line salaries. And these guys work 100 days a year, and they make $71,869. So instead of complaining about part-time legislature, how about making them work full-time like the rest of us have to do? Monday through Friday, doing the people's work. That's what they were elected to do. That's something that an independent party can stand on. That party can stand up to be the voice of the people. I'm sure the Republicans and the Democrats started out the same way, but corruption has ended up in them so deep that it's not even funny. You know why? Because they're made up I shouldn't go there. You know, the candidates they choose is why the corruption's so deep. We have corruption in our courts. We have corruption in our government. We have corruption in, you know, the correctional facilities. You know, our courts and our government have one main thing in common. And I know if there's any of you here that are lawyers, I don't expect your vote. Because that's the common denominator in our courts and in our government. We need accountability. Do you think any of our current candidates besides myself will preach to you about accountability? They'll tell you we need it, but they won't enforce it. We need people like all of you on here and myself to enforce accountability. Not the courts, not the police, for what I'm talking about. Now, a crime is a crime. That's what the police are for in the courts. But to hold our elected officials accountable, it has to be you and I. But we need the tools to do it. And recall system hasn't worked. It's failed us left and right. It hasn't really failed us. The problem is they keep changing the laws on it. So if we get enough people to join an independent party that has a real voice, like the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, then we're making ways through the system. then you make it viable. Then you make it possible. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they're falling apart right now. All they want to do is fight with each other and point the finger and blame each other for not getting the job done for the people. It's time for change. It's time for an independent candidate. It's time for an independent party. And I won't stop fighting. I'm not going anywhere soon. I'm in this to the end, whether I win or lose, and I'm going to win. And when I do win, I'm coming around to each and every one of your houses, and we're all going to have an actual party. So, Marcia. Glad you joined us, Marcia. Matter of fact, Marcia Schleiger is one of the independent candidates that I support. She's running for U.S. Senate against Debbie Stabenow. She's got a lot of great ideas. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I've been talking. And like I said, we're doing research. We are getting the proper paperwork. And we are going to form an actual independent party here in Michigan. And I'll even bet you on this. Marcia Schleiger and myself will be the first ones to join. Can I hold you to that, Marcia? So, Ryan, I was just speaking to you about you earlier. Are you an independent candidate as well? Ryan Lurie? He'll come on here. If I remember right, Ryan's running for 50th district. I could be wrong, but I try to pay attention to most of this. So, hello, Miss Becky. So these are what we're talking about. Like I said, we're actually talking about creating a real independent party here for Michigan. We went out and we found paperwork for this that I have right here is actually the Republican Party's LLC here in Michigan. Seymour Street LLC. Interesting. And it actually has a date for 50 years. And then here's the actual law. The 168692A. I told you we're doing the research on all this. Plus I have what's the matter, Chris? Did you fall off on me? So, but this is where we're going. Like I said, I'm working a full-time job. I'm actually driving Lyft probably 10 hours a day on top of my full-time job in the morning and in the evening. So if you use Lyft, the app, you can look on there and see how many cars are around there. If you see my car, tap it. I'll come pick you up. And plus, I'm campaigning real heavy on Sunday and Mondays. So, and again, I'll be in Saginaw tomorrow. 10 a.m. I'll be at Tony's there on Main Street, or it might be called Little Bambino's. Either way, it's still a Tony's restaurant. I'll be there at 10 a.m. If you want to come over to Tony's in Merrill at 10 a.m., I'll be there having coffee and breakfast. You can come over there. I'll let you pay for my breakfast. I'm just kidding. But we're looking for volunteers for over there too, because I'm going to be going canvassing whether volunteers show up or not. I'll be going through the neighborhoods there in Merrill, Hemlock, and Saginaw for probably a good 8 hours between those three communities. So if you want to help out, you can meet me up there. The clock needs some batteries. Are you trying to say I'm been on here too long, Chris, or what? Oh, okay. Just transferring from the phone to the laptop. I see. Yeah, that clock in the background doesn't work. So Yeah, I've been rambling on. I don't normally ramble on for an hour, so. But all right, I appreciate you all showing up on here. I want you to seriously think about forming an independent party. I think that'd be something that would be really good here for the state of Michigan. That would give you an opportunity to uh, actually nominate candidates instead of going through the rigged signature system. And if you think I'm kidding about this, if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you only need 15,000 signatures. Okay. I'm an independent. I need 30,000 signatures. They make it twice as hard for independents or Green Party or Libertarian parties. If we actually formed this independent party, it would be a nomination system, not a signature system. So this is something to think about. We could centralize it. I think Marcia's trying to be nice and tell me to get the heck off here and go to bed. So trust me, when I do get off here, I am going to lay down for a couple hours. I'll be back up at 2 a.m. driving for Lyft. So got to do what I have to do. We got to get funds in here. We got to gather volunteers. Believe it or not, 3 of the volunteers I got over this last week, or let me rephrase that. 3 of the volunteers I gained, because I know there's grammar Nazis out there that aren't going to like my wording, that I gained over the last week were from me driving Lyft. And they actually showed up in Flint today. So that was very, very promising, and I enjoyed speaking with them. So if you want to volunteer, you can get a hold of Chris Rusin. He's on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Chris monitors my social media, so if you want to volunteer, you can volunteer. I'm not asking you to go from, like, say, Saginaw to Lansing to help volunteer unless you choose to when we go over there. What I'm asking you to do is volunteer in your neighborhoods, in your communities. And I will come out to your communities. Doesn't matter where at in Michigan. If you actually tell me that you got 10 people up in Ironwood, up in the UP, I'll make it a time to drive up there and be there for the weekend, or Sunday and Monday at least, to say the very least, I should say. I will come to you to gain your support. This is how I'm going to be as governor. I'm not going to be sitting in Lansing unless I'm absolutely needed. I'll be traveling all over Michigan, staying in contact with the people. My lieutenant governor is a Democrat. He will be doing the same thing. That's the other thing that's different for us independents. We have to declare who our running mates are. So David Lillis is a Democrat. He is my running mate. They've never had an independent and a Democrat as we're the odd couple, so to speak. They've never had any mixed party candidates. That needs to be stated ahead of time. So I'm created this common sense coalition, and we're going to take it all the way to the end. So with that being said, again, thank you for allowing me into your living rooms, bathrooms, wherever you're at watching this Facebook Live. I enjoy coming on here and ranting. It gives me some release from my daily travels, but I enjoy it. And I enjoy listening to the people I speak with. There's a reason why I haven't given the young lady's name in Flint yet, and that's because I have not asked her permission to use it as of yet. But I am helping her out, and we are going up against Mayor Weaver with her information. So again, if you want to volunteer, great. If you want to donate, great. You can go to schleigerforgovernor2018.com. And Chris, if you go look at the website right now, you'll see that issue has been taken care of. So again, if you want to donate, you want to volunteer, go to the website. There's a contact page that goes directly to me. I will answer your questions as soon as I possibly can. And if I don't answer your question, it's because either I don't know or I'm waiting to give you the correct answer. But I'll let you know on that portion as well. You can contact me on Facebook. I do respond most of the time in a timely manner. If I see a question on my campaign page, I answer it. It's not anybody else answering those questions but me. There is only one other person that has access to my social media, but I can guarantee you he is not answering any of the questions that you send out there to me. So with all that said, you have a wonderful evening. And again, thank you for allowing me to rant here and do what I'm doing. And thank you for the volunteers that are supporting me as of right now. I appreciate every time that you come together with me to go out and gather these signatures. And I will make things better for the state of Michigan. You can count on that. So enjoy your evening, and I promise not to bother you until next Sunday. So have a good night, and thank you for joining me.